Story 1. Just Haunted. A few years ago, my best friend and I moved into a house. It was definitely a weird house, and we got some weird vibes out of it. Every night when I went to sleep, I would hear music. Not singing, just music. Like someone had a radio on, in the distance. It was never playing any song I could name. I had dreams every night of a crowd of faceless people, with a little boy standing in front. He never spoke, but I could tell he was trying to tell me something. The fridge would often open on its own, and the cats, well, they would hiss at corners and such. And we'd smell cigarette smoke coming from the back room every day at 3 o'clock promptly. My aunts were, and still are, big into ghost hunting, so they came over and set up cameras in my house one night. They didn't catch much, but one of the cameras spun in a circle for about 15 seconds. At exactly 3 in the morning, the front porch light turned itself on, got really bright, and then dimmed until it was off. When I finally moved out of the house, I actually had trouble sleeping for a while because I didn't have the music playing anymore. It was definitely a strange, strange house. Story 2. Bump in the Night. We had just moved into a Milltown house. One of those houses built close by a dam and textile mill that used to house the family of the mill workers. The upstairs area always gave me an eerie feeling, but I shrugged it off as the discomfort of living in a new place. From the beginning, I had trouble sleeping. I was jolted awake in the middle of the night repeatedly for no apparent reason. Then I started to hear thumping. It started off as an occasional soft thumps coming from the attic. I had my dad check it out to ease my mind. He found no explanation. Fast forward a few weeks, the occasional knocking was becoming louder and more frequent. I continued to wake up in the middle of the night. One night I was jolted awake again, but this time I heard a loud bang, accompanied by the sound of breaking plastic. I looked to my window across the room, and the blinds had been completely torn and were in disarray. My door was closed. The windows were closed. The house was locked up tight for the night. I don't think I've ever ran so fast in my life. I made it downstairs pretty quickly. The sound of me running down the stairs woke my parents up. They went upstairs to check it out. They found no cause or explanation. I slept on the couch downstairs until we moved shortly after that incident. My parents still live in that neighborhood, not far from the house. I've noticed that the house never keeps an occupant for too long, and I've never experienced anything similar until recently. I live in an apartment with 3 other people, and on occasion, when one of us happens to be home alone around 2 a.m., we've heard knocking sounds, as if someone's at the door. In my roommate's experience, the knocking stops when you go to answer the front door. In my experience, the knocking stops when I turn the lights on. Pretty weird. Story 3. Haunted Hospital. Me and some buddies were bored one night, and we decided to head out to the abandoned hospital to poke around and see what we could get into. The only way in was through the autopsy room. The rest of the place was pretty much sealed off. So we go in. It's me, another guy, a couple girls. As soon as we get into the autopsy room, one of the girls starts freaking out and crying. She said she just couldn't be there anymore. We tried everything we could to convince her that everything was going to be fine, but to no avail. She wanted to leave, and she wanted to leave now. Disappointed, we decided we had to leave. The 2 girls were walking in front of us, one trying to comfort the other, while me and the other dude walked behind. I don't know what made me look back. Morbid curiosity, maybe? But I did. Now, I admit it was dark, but the moon was out, so it wasn't pitch black. Still, I know what I saw. A window on the 2nd floor. What looked just like a little girl in a white dress staring back at us. I looked for a good 10 seconds, stopped my buddy and had him look without taking my eyes off the thing, and asked him specifically, "Do you see that?" I thought maybe I was seeing things. Maybe it was a trick of light. But no, we both saw it, and we stared at it for 20 seconds after that. I might have thought it was some sort of trick, but after 20 seconds or so, it moved. And we noped out of there, passing the girls and screaming at them to get in the car. 1,000 possibilities have ran through my mind. All I know is what I saw. A little girl in a white dress staring at us from the second-story window of an abandoned mental hospital at 2 a.m. Story 4. Alarmed. I never believed in the paranormal stuff, and I still don't. But about 3 years ago, something happened to me and my wife that we still can't explain. Ever since I was a teenager, I've had problems waking up in the morning. Maybe it's because my sleep schedule is off. Maybe it's just because I sleep very deeply. Getting me to wake up takes effort. One Christmas, my grandmother gave me a radio alarm as a present because I kept ignoring my ringing alarm constantly. She gave me a good piece of advice with this alarm clock. If you really need to wake up, just turn the wheel and select the radio station to the far left and the volume all the way up. This is what I've done on all important occasions, and it's really worked like a charm. There's really no way I can ignore the whispering irritation of static at full volume. Unfortunately, my grandmother died a few years after this gift was given. Fast forward to about 3 years ago. It had been a hard week for both me and my wife. We were sound asleep on a Friday night when suddenly the alarm clock went off in the middle of the night. This did not wake me up, but my wife did wake up because she could not make the alarm clock stop. The alarm was set to off, but it still kept going off. She woke me, and I tried everything. After 10 minutes or so, I managed to make it stop. We went back to sleep. 15 minutes later, the radio goes off again. I must have hit the snooze button. There was no way to shut the alarm off. I cussed and I swore and I pulled the plug out of the wall. Back to sleep. My wife and I almost jumped out of bed when the alarm went off again. Screeching, yelling, whistling, static at full volume. It's hard to describe the feeling somewhere between panic, confusion, and adrenaline. I know I pulled the plug out of the wall. I saw that no lights were blinking, no clock, just the black face of the radio alarm. My wife panicked and ran out of the room, while I kept staring at the alarm, unable to do anything, but scared. Then all of a sudden it went quiet. Through the silence I heard the muffled sound of our telephone ringing, barely audible from our living room. I went to find it. I found it stuck between the couch and a very large pillow. The number calling was my mother's. It turns out that my mother had been home alone when she had fell on the way back from the bathroom to her bedroom. She had broke her hip. Unable to move, she has lain there, helpless, desperately trying to call someone for help. Had that radio alarm clock not woke us up, we'd have gone on that weekend trip the next morning, and my mother would have still laid there in the hallway with a broken hip. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the stories. If you did, hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. Bye.